Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to share a project that you can make in time for the holidays, and this is an advent calendar that you hang on your tree because they're ornaments. You even have time to whip this up before the start of December, or you could do a 12 days of Christmas, or you could even tuck little gifts in here, and instead of numbers on the little containers, you could put somebody's name. So there's a lot of different options for this, and it's such a fun project. This is a take on the good old-fashioned sour cream container that if you've been stamping for any amount of time, you know all about, and they just work so well for this purpose. So the first thing we're going to do is get some 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. This is from a pad of paper I got. I think it was like a $5 pad at Michael's many years ago, and you're going to cut it in half so you have 6 inches by 12 inches, and then you're going to cut each of those halves into 4-inch wide pieces. So you're going to get 6 ornaments from each sheet of scrapbook paper. I recommend going with something metallic because it will look really pretty on your Christmas tree with the Christmas lights reflecting in it. I was able to get 6 4-inch by 6-inch rectangles from each piece of scrapbook paper, so I only needed to use 4 sheets of scrapbook paper to make my 24 ornaments. So what you want to do now is roll one of those rectangles around a bottle of glue or rolling pin, whatever you have that's a cylinder, to make it a little easier to bend, and then apply a strip of hot glue along one of the edges about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, just to account for any seepage that you might have so you don't burn your fingers as you close it up there. Then you're going to put some glue right near the edge on one end of your tube, and you're going to squash it shut, just taking care to line up your edges so it's nice and neat. Now when I close that, I keep the seam about 1/3 of the way in, just to it's just going to make it nice and neat when I go to close the other end. Then you can fill it with whatever goodies you want, and you're going to squash it closed in the opposite direction at a perpendicular angle from the first way you close the other end. I think it makes sense if you look at the picture. Then I took a piece of 9-inch ribbon. I'm using some organza. You can use whatever you have handy. And I just kind of held the ends together and put it in a little dab of glue on the inside of the cone. After you have that secured, simply apply another strip of hot glue along that end of the cone and squash it closed. And you want to do that for every one of your ornaments. I recommend doing this assembly line style because it's going to make the process go a lot quicker. Isn't that pretty? I mean, they look pretty just like that too. So, I mean, however much you want to decorate it is up to you. The next thing I'm going to do is, since this is an advent calendar, I want to have some numbers on my ornaments. So I'm using some gold ink and some number rubber stamps to stamp out all my numbers on some black cardstock. After that, I'm going to apply some gold embossing tinsel. Embossing tinsel is a product. It's like an embossing powder, but it's actually really, really fine glitter, and it's so pretty on these ornaments. This also sets the gold pigment ink so it doesn't rub off when you are handling the ornaments, since metallic pigment ink doesn't tend to dry on its own very well. You could also use gold or silver embossing powder if you prefer. Make sure you dump the excess back in the pot because you can use it again, so it's really a very waste-free product. Now I'm using a heat tool to kind of heat set the embossing powder, make it permanent so it doesn't brush off. And you can kind of tell that it's set when the sheen changes. It goes from a dull shiny to a bright shiny. And then you know that this is all set and ready to go and it's not going to rub off. Then I used a medium-sized hexagon punch to punch out my numbers. Make sure you leave enough space between your numbers so that you can fit that punch in if you are going to punch them out. Then using a larger hexagon punch, I punched out some larger hexagons from red glitter paper to use as a mat on my ornaments. I figured red and gold would look so good together, especially hung on a green Christmas tree. Then all you have to do is stack the hexagons together. Add a little bit of glue to the back of the black hexagon, stick that on top of the red one, and then just glue that onto the ornament. I like to go on the flat side up next to the ribbon. You can either place it on the side with the seam or the side without, or you could even do a number for each side if you wanted to. Now, we'll go a little quicker if you do it assembly line style. Like I mentioned, glue all your hexagons together and then glue each one of those onto the ornament all at once. You'll figure out a working style that works good for you, but you can definitely whip up a batch of these in an afternoon and have that advent calendar up in time for Christmas. I hope this project inspires you to make some fun Christmas ornament crafts this year. I want to thank Xyron for sponsoring this video. I used the Xyron Mini Multi-Stick Glue Gun in this project, which made it so easy because I didn't have to stop to load more glue sticks. It holds several in the hopper so that you can keep on crafting even when your glue stick runs out. I want to thank you for watching today. If you enjoyed this project, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're curious about any of the products I used today, check out the links in the video description. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, happy crafting!